Avoid evil deeds as a man who loves life avoids eating poison. And this is another very special quote by the Lord Buddha himself when he was teaching the Dharma 26,000 years ago. When he was teaching the Dharma, the Lord Buddha would identify the most direct and effective ways to lead us to peace, joy and happiness. And to do that, we have to remove our sources of suffering, our causes of suffering from its very root. The Buddha, through many of his Buddhist texts, taught us to contemplate the three most prominent causes of suffering, being anger, greed, and ignorance. And by identifying these sources of suffering, we can immediately alleviate ourselves and then replace these sources of suffering with wholesome virtues and qualities. However, the Buddha taught a very effective way to manage the three sources of suffering, greed, anger, and ignorance. He taught us that we should be managing them by using their opposite qualities. So, for example, to manage anger, we use compassion. To manage greed, we use generosity. And to manage ignorance, we use wisdom. He used the analogy of, if we want to make hot water cooler, we add cold water. If we want to make salty water more neutralized, we add its polar opposite, which is sugar. And the same occurs with everything in life. If we want to get rid of anything, we have to increase more of its polarity, its polar opposite. However, the difficulty of this practice is having the clarity of mind to identify when anger, greed, and ignorance arises without being immediately taken away by the emotion. And that is actually very difficult to do, but through mindfulness practice or meditation, it develops more clarity of mind for us to identify more clearly when we have moments of anger, moments of greed, moments of ignorance, and then not allowing ourselves to follow the current of these very strong emotions. If we can develop the mental clarity to observe these conditions as they arise, and then we don't follow them, by simply observing them arise and observing them there, we immediately alleviate a lot of the pressure and stress that they create. And that brings a lot of clarity, it brings a lot of peace, and it brings a lot of comfort when we need it most. And then after we have identified this is a moment of anger, a moment of greed, we can immediately try to replace that negative emotion with a positive one. Like, I have to be patient right now, I have to be understanding right now, I have to be kind, gentle right now. And immediately what we are doing is we are reversing the habitual mind by implanting a positive habit that breaks the cycle. Over time, what we will find is that the habitual negative thought process we can condition with positive, helpful thoughts. For example, whenever we feel angry, we immediately bring patience into the equation, and then over time, anger leads to patience. Then we would have the right conditions, the right habits to deal with these negative states naturally and automatically. And this is the state that we want, so that eventually, whenever something bad happens, we immediately counter it with something good that happens automatically without us having to create it ourselves. This is why the Buddha taught the importance of constantly cultivating wholesome qualities and virtues such as patience, generosity, wisdom, empathy, kindness, because these are always going to be what we need to counter all the negative states that we have habitually created from past experiences. Whenever thoughts of anger, greed, jealousy, arrogance arise, immediately we have to think of what virtuous, wholesome qualities we have from within our arsenal that we can immediately bring out to alleviate these stressful emotions. If we don't have anything in our arsenal, then the thoughts of anger, greed, and ignorance will easily spiral out of control, and that brings a lot of suffering and pain to ourselves and other people. Again, the Buddha said, avoid evil deeds just as a man who loves life avoids drinking poison. May we all cultivate a wholesome, virtuous mind and replace all of our destructive habits and negative thought processes with good qualities, so that we may bring a lot of joy and happiness to ourselves and those around. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again in tomorrow's Buddha Quote of the Day video. Thanks everyone. Namaste.